I'm Falcon the Wiz. A long time ago, I put together a build. It was so heinous that I had to lock it away and hope that it never saw the light of day. But Bungie recently decided to buff every part of this build. Now it's escaped, and if you use it, you will get cancelled. When I first put this build together, I had one goal in mind. How could I take an iconic weapon that has a heavy downside of staying alive and keep you staying in the fight? But what if it also benefits your fire team and does a good chunk of damage? The answer was this build. Let's go over the main gear for this build. This iconic Hive God from the King's Fall raid got turned into a weapon. That weapon states, the final round in the magazine deals bonus damage, drawing from the wielder's life force, and then regenerates itself. Rapidly defeating 3 targets restores health. Guardians and powerful combatants count as more than one defeated target. It also says, precision hits drain combatants' life force and charge up a ball of darkness, alt weapon action, and then fire to unleash the blight projectile surrounding combatants in darkness and temporarily blinding them. In human terms, the final round of the magazine lasts forever, does 120% more damage at the cost of a little bit of your health. Get 10 crit hits, and then you get to shoot an old Taken Captain Ball. What it doesn't say anywhere is if you hit the Taken Ball on an enemy, it applies poison, and all weapons of sorrow, including this gun, does 50% more damage for 5 seconds. The catalyst grants rapid hit, which is nice, but hardly noticeable. Okay, so this gun does a lot of damage, but it also hurts you? Well, why would I use it? Well, let's go into the subclass to pair with it. Void Warlock. I know. One of the best subclasses in the game. For our aspects, you'll want to run Feed the Void to grant you Devour on any Void ability final blow. For our other aspect, you'll want to run the star of this build, Void Soul. The Void Soul's effects will vary based on what kind of rift you are using. On Healing Rift, it grants grenade and melee energy. On Empowering Rift, it gives health. No matter which one you choose, it will always apply a 15% weaken and will grant you some class ability energy when the enemy it's affecting is defeated. You can pick either rift you want. Both will get you some healing in some form or the other. But I prefer Empowering Rift because you can always steal health from an ally rift or Well of Radiance. For fragments, the best 4 are Echo of Vigilance, Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Persistence, and Echo of Harvest. Echo of Vigilance gives you a Void Overshield if you defeat an enemy while at critical health. Echo of Expulsion to make explosions after a Void ability final blow. The little rapscallion included. Echo of Persistence makes Void buffs such as Devour, Void Overshield, and Invisibility last longer. Lastly, Echo of Harvest, for creating a large orb of power and a Void Breach by defeating a weakened target, both of which directly feeds that thing. Everything is all about spamming the purple thing as much as possible. Speaking of that...
Insolent spec.
No, not that one. That one. You want to run these exotic gauntlets that state, your Void Souls have a longer duration. They also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. Pretty straightforward here. So, you have your Void Soul dealing damage, healing you, and applying weaken for you and your fire team. Empowering Rift to increase you and your fire team's damage, and your Hive God and a gun dealing massive damage? What more could you want? Well, as of Renegades, Bungie is buffing pretty much everything about this build. Starting with Tom. They are increasing the amount of healing you get from the intrinsic perk, while reducing the number of kills needed to trigger the healing, from 3 to 2. Also, activating the charged Blight Blast will also heal you. The exotic gauntlets is getting faster at doing more damage, and even more damage the longer it lasts. Who would have thought it was a good idea to give the youth more energy? Remember that the 6-7 of gods now counts as a grenade for almost all purposes. Okay, let's talk about some nitty gritty details that you really don't have to have, but they do enhance everything. For stats, you want no more than 100 class stat because the benefits of going over 100 are not worth it. You can pump the rest of the stats into either health if you have some trouble staying alive, or weapons to, well, improve your weapons. Super, grenade, and melee don't really matter in this build too much, but you can pump stuff into grenade if you really feel like it to make the Void Soul do more damage. There really isn't a set bonus that is a must-have for this set. I've mostly been rocking tech set armor for synergy with Tom over here. Other weapons for this build can be pretty much anything, but I'd recommend a good add clear special weapon and a good burst damage heavy weapon. For armor mods, I'd go with all the options that deal with class abilities, such as Dynamo, Insulation, Reaper, and Powerful Attraction. Remember that Void Souls now count as grenades, so you can also run Ashes to Assets, Firepower, and Bolstering Detonation. At the time of this recording, which is Renegades, we have some artifact mods that synergize with this build. Not including any champion mods, we have the following. Impact Shock Gravity to double dip on Siphon mods without taking extra slots. Gravitic Voltaic Charge to increase our armor charge up to 4 charges. Elemental Siphon to generate void breaches on kinetic weapon final blows and matching weapon final blows. Power from Pain to give us Devour on weakened enemy final blows. Press the Advantage to increase our weapon stats when breaking a shield. Singularity Blade, which states, while you have a void buff, melee and sword hits apply weaken, with melee and sword final blows creating a weakening burst. Armor Smith to give us damage resist from breaking shields. Void Infestation, that states defeating weakened targets spawns a tracking projectile that weakens other targets. And finally, Kinetic Rupture, that states kinetic weapon damage against a powerful combatant can create a kinetic rupture. Targeting this rupture causes a damaging explosion. Here's a look at all the details and mods for the build. So, you put everything together, and you get... Oh no. Don't call it that. So, who do we cancel in this scenario? Do we cancel Oryx or that small child? Look, I never said it. You're the one that was making it.